What's up, guys? Welcome back to Homie Checkpoint. Are you feeling okay, bro? Today we're going to try something a little different. We're going to start up a segment called The Gray Area, and that's going to be where we talk about things like mental health and the different kinds of struggles that we might go through in our personal lives. And like these topics are things that me and Alex are very passionate about.
And like I said, these topics are things we've talked about personally. We just want to share them with you guys. And we understand, yeah, this isn't our normal content. Not even close. And if you're here for the funny stuff, I understand if this isn't your cup of tea. And if that's the case, we'll see you next week. But we wanted to do this because Homie Checkpoint was founded on the foundation that adventurers they need to stop and rest, and they need time, maybe just like open up to their friend a little bit. Maybe they've got some stuff going on in their life, and that's okay.
Yeah, so we're going to be completely transparent. There's not going to be any kind of like cuts or anything like that. So you're going to hear breaths, you're going to hear uhs, you're going to hear like stutters and stuff like that. Hell, we've got our friend Kendall here holding up cue cards to make sure we don't ramble for like 20 minutes. The thing is, though, is that if you guys don't like that, we need to hear about that. So as far as feedback goes, that's the number one thing. If you guys hate that we don't edit this video, please let us know.
And a disclaimer, and I cannot stress this enough: we are not professionals. Not even close. We're just two dudes. We've been through our fair share of bullshit. And, we just wanted to share our perspectives on some of the topics that we're going to talk about. And if you do need professional help, please seek it out. We will have resources linked below if you need them.
Right. So our topic for today is going to be setting expectations. What does that look like? How do you set expectations for people around you? What it's like when people don't follow through on them, and people's expectations of us. So, like, let's take something simple that we can all relate to, like a good work day. When you walk into work, you expect for people to be in the places they're supposed to be in. You expect it to be clean. You think that it's going to be a great day. But what happens when that stuff isn't in place?
Well, you take a look at the opposite side of that spectrum there. Obviously, a bad work day. And let's say Jeff don't show up for work. And that affects your workday almost immediately. You're behind, you're down a man, and it affects your clothes. Your clothes sucked. In fact, you closed an hour and a half late. You're ill, you're frustrated, you're angry, and you have every right to feel like that. But it is imperative, and this is hard to do. Like, I don't do this all the time. I'm not perfect. But you need to keep in mind that other people, they've got their own bullshit going on that they don't share with people. Because, I know you do, because I know I do. And they should keep that in mind. And if you can keep that in mind, then you should be able to stay calm, look at it through a third person's eye.
Right. And moving back a little bit, so like the thing with our expectations is they decide whether or not our day is a good one or a bad one. So like you wake up in the morning and like you like overslept through your alarms. Now you're pissed off because you're going to be late to whatever you were supposed to get to. Or like you sit down in a restaurant and you order your food. You want it to be the way it said it was going to be in the menu, right? What came out, and now like all the shit's like screwed up. You're going to send it back. You're pissed off. Our expectations can be a huge source of stress for us, but they are super important, especially for maintaining healthy relationships with the people we care about.
Yes, and it's important to set those expectations for those people because what they do is they set boundaries. They let people know what you are and what you aren't comfortable with, and that is important. And if you have those people in your life and you've set those expectations, they ignore them, maybe it's time to take a step back, reevaluate. Do I really need this person in my life? Because if you do allow that, what you're doing is you're allowing them to walk all over you. And it's enabling them to think that, well, hey, Alex, man, he won't say anything. We do it all the time. And that's not good. That's unhealthy. And I'm better than that. You're better than that.
Right. So I want to be crystal clear here. Society dictates specific things, like specific boundaries that people don't cross. We are not talking about like those really heavy topics where you'd have to involve law enforcement. So like don't even like confuse what I'm saying. What we are talking about as far as enabling goes is like microaggressions. Like maybe you got that annoying friend who like he cusses too much around people he shouldn't, or you got like that one pushy guy who's like like all the time, like pushing people, touching up on, all that stuff. Like you just pull them aside and you have to be like, hey, that's not cool, bro. Like I can't deal with that because I'm not comfortable with it. You have to reset those expectations for your friends because they have grown to expect that you're okay with it. And I'm not saying that that's like okay or anything. All I'm saying is that they have grown accustomed to it. And going forward, if you reset that expectation that it's not okay and they ignore it, then maybe that's the kind of person you don't need in your life.
Well, now I'm gonna take control of the conversation here a little bit. I'm gonna tell you guys about a friend that both me and Josh had, and well, be frank, it was a toxic situation all around. It was terrible, and I was letting him take advantage of me, taking advantage of my kindness and my willingness to see him succeed. I valued the amount of time that we had known each other so highly that I let him treat me like dirt just to make himself feel better because, oh man, he's been through a lot of bullshit. Maybe he needs it. And that kind of thinking, like I mentioned before, it's unhealthy. It can lead to a whole slew of things that I'm not going to cover here because frankly we just don't have the time. I'm going to, and it's important to note, I did stand up to him, but it was very, very far into our friendship. And who knows? If I had done it earlier, we could still be friends today. But I didn't. And I'm honestly, yes, I'm biased here. I don't think it would have ended positively. But regardless of whether or not it ended positively or negatively, the one thing I do regret is not standing up to him sooner. Because if I did, either way it ended, it would have stopped the abuse a lot earlier.
Right. So, like, I've got my own like little story as far as expectations go about work. So I'm the kind of guy that if I'm doing something, I like do it harder than anybody else. I put all my stock into it. I try to make sure I'm like the go-to guy, all that kind of crap. So let's talk about a job I had a few years ago. I was pretty much the workhorse around that place. Like, I was scheduled all the hardest shifts. If I was scheduled, people knew they didn't have to lift a finger. They knew it was going to go good because I was there. And I was proud of that. Here I was looking like a dummy, breaking my back for this job that at the end of the day didn't really care about me. So the thing is, if you're passionate about your job, like, go for it, do you, like, it, but in my case, I was miserable. So the thing is I had set the expectations for my bosses that no matter what, I was going to make sure it went good, even if it meant breaking my own back. And the paradox of it is that I had the expectation that eventually that was going to trickle back down to me. Maybe I was going to get the promotions and the raises and stuff like that. So don't get me wrong, I had my money, and eventually they tried reaching out to me about some promotions and what that. But by then, I was already mentally and physically drained. Like it took a toll on my personal life, definitely took a toll on my work life. Like my work ethic and all that. So the thing is I finally broke and I quit. And when I did it, my coworkers could not believe it. That's how dedicated I was. But because I didn't take the time to like set them aside and be like, hey, here's what can and can't fly here at this job, it led to that situation where everybody lost. I lost because it took such a toll on me. They lost because they were screwed when I quit. I'm not telling you if you hate your job or whatever to just go up and quit because we all got bills and all that. Work is work. You got to do what you got to do. But the takeaway should be is that I should have set the expectation early on that, hey, I've got this going on, this going on, this going on. I cannot kill myself for this job. I'm sorry. That's the way it's got to be. If it doesn't work out, maybe this job ain't for me. And that's just how it was. So what you should really take away from what I'm saying is that a lot of us kill ourselves for our jobs, but you got to consider your own mental health first, and all of that comes from your expectations and their expectations of you.
And what Josh was talking about, and yet again, it's what I was talking about as well is confrontation. And yeah, I get it. Confrontation, it's a scary word. To think about it has a negative connotation already. You never think of confrontation in a positive light, but it doesn't have to be that way. It all depends on how you go about it. So it could be just as easy as, well, like, hey man, can you wash the dishes sometimes? I'm tired of doing it all the time. If like it's just like that, it doesn't have to be negative. If you approach the situation politely and respectfully, and you choose your words carefully, then you should be fine. If anybody is still mad at you after taking those precautions, well, to be honest, they're just an asshole.
Right. And like we've said this whole video, at that point maybe it's time to reevaluate if they deserve to be in your life. So I've got a little story about how confrontation was done right. Here recently, I had a friend who runs his own social media, and he posted a status talking about, "Hey, let me get some of them spicy memes," you know. And I was like, "Ooh boy, I got the flames here," and turns out he was not ready for that spice. So basically, what ended up happening is he sent me a text message and said, "Hey, bro, I've got some people on that page that probably wouldn't like that kind of content." And though I disagree about whether or not it was offensive, I said, "You know what, bro? You're right. It's your page. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And I appreciate that you came to me instead of deleting it yourself." Now, would I have ever found out about it if he had just deleted it himself? I don't know. Probably not. The important thing here is the principle that he came to me man to man and he told me what could and couldn't fly on his stuff. And then after that, I responded positively saying, "Yeah, bro, we're friends. I love you, dog. We're going to go forward, and now I know what I can't post on your page."
And don't get us wrong. This setting expectation things will, oh boy, now that goes both ways. And one step you can take to try and better yourself as far as not crossing your friends and your family's boundaries is taking the time to identify toxic traits within yourself. And it might not be too comfortable to hear, but we all have them, even us. And yes, and it pays to know what your friends' boundaries are so you don't pass them. It's easy to focus on you. Don't get caught up in it because maybe you've been going through a hard time and maybe you're thinking, I was like, man, my friends haven't been for me like they usually have. Like, what's going on? It pays to maybe take a few steps back, look in the mirror, and think, man, have you really been a good friend lately?
Right. So expanding on his example, maybe your friend hasn't been in touch with you as much as y'all have been in touch the last few years. You've got to try to be understanding to that kind of thing. Like, we're all adults here, well, most of us assuming. So the thing about that is we've all got stuff going on. Life happens. We might all love each other, but then someone moves away and you haven't heard from them in months. The thing about that is they probably got stuff going on. 9 times out of 10, they didn't just forget you exist or are ignoring you or whatever. It's just there's other stuff that they have to deal with. The best you can do is reach out to them and tell them how you feel. And if they ignore it, then that goes back to that reevaluation thing. But if they get back to you, then good. But I do want to be transparent about it. They don't owe you anything. You need to be ready for when they don't respond because that could be the kind of thing that upsets you.
All right, I feel like we've been talking long enough. We can talk about this for hours, and honestly, we have on a multitude of topics. But like I said, it's time to wrap it up. And if you want to continue these conversations, man, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Facebook. And if you've got any suggestions on topics you want to hear us talk about, man, feel free. We welcome that.
Right. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. We especially appreciate the feedback on this with no edits, no cuts, all that kind of stuff. Just remember to hit the bell, and we'll see you guys next week. See ya.